All right, well, hello. Introduction to Psychology class at Mary Baldwin College. Dr. Tausman coming to you live from Roanoke, Virginia once more. 75 degrees down here today. This certainly beats, I was just chatting with my sister-in-law up in Albany, New York, and she said they got like 2 feet of snow up there. So we're certainly doing a little bit better than that. What we're going to have you do here is, I appreciated everybody responding to the 2 discussion boards. I'm going to have you give you 2 weeks to do this. Basically a detailed outline of the acoustic lecture on YouTube here. What you may want to choose to do, that a few of you did for the previous assignment, you may actually want to take the agenda and just simply type in notes, not notes, but it's already got an outline in there, but type in your details right into the agenda so that you can have both the information that's on there as well as the information that you add in. And the first thing we're going to start with here is kind of the neuroscience stuff, and I don't think I did this with you guys before, but very simple thing here. It's if you look at Roman numeral number 1 on the agenda, it says 100 plus 25. And obviously you all know what the answer to that question is. You all came up with 125. And the question is, how did you actually do this? And the answer is actually there were quite a few steps involved in this process. And I wanted to share just a few of them with you if you want to write them for your details here. The first step is the light actually has to go into your eyes for the stimulus. So step 1 is light energy goes into your eyes. It goes specifically into your retina. Step 2 is something called transduction. Transduction, Transduction. And transduction is the process where the light energy gets converted into action potentials. Those action potentials go up to your brain, and then you have perception, cognition, and then eventually after the cognitive processes happen, you will end up sending a motor response out and saying 125. So that's just a little background information. Next, I moved into this idea of philosophical issues in biological psychiatry. There are basically a couple of different positions you can take about mind and body, if you will. One of the first people to take a position on this was a famous philosopher named Descartes. And Descartes, a long time ago, hundreds of years ago, basically came up with the position that mind and body are completely separate. That mind, mental states, psychological states, they are completely different than all physiological things and all neurobiological things going on. And actually, this was very helpful in many ways to the beginning of science because it said, psychologists, you guys just study the mind, and we'll have doctors and all those people study the body. And there's still a lot of that going on because the whole belief is that if you can give somebody a drug, you can fix the body and maybe fix the mind up. But one position you can take is the idea of dualism, where mind and body are completely separate. Now, what most people believe is that position really is not viable. Instead, we tend to have something called monism. And in monism, there are 2 different approaches you can take. Monism is a belief that mind and body, there is definitely a connection between those. And we certainly know that to be the case now. In one type of monism, you could take something like depression. And you could say, okay, for depression, do people have some commonalities with depression? Are there things in common, maybe with some serotonin imbalances, norepinephrine, brain functioning, behaviors? Yeah, there are probably some commonalities, but you can't just say, oh, if you want to look for somebody who has depression, just look at this one neuron, and that'll basically be wrong. And if you fix this one neuron or this one neurotransmitter, that'll fix depression. So the position that there is a relationship between mind and body, but it's not a one-to-one link between mind and body, that's called token reductionism. There is a link, but it's not a perfect link. The other position you could take is something called type reductionism. And in type reductionism, a good example of this is in monkeys, they seem to find neurons that would respond when they showed monkeys different faces. And these neurons that would respond, so one face, you might have one neuron that responded to this, another face, another neuron that responded to this. This would be called, the idea that was called a grandmother cell. And this idea that one face perception corresponded to one neuron is kind of the idea behind type reductionism. So most people believe there is a relationship between mind and body, and most people believe in this idea of token reductionism. Yes, there is a relationship, but it's not a one-to-one situation. So hopefully that makes good sense to you. Thanks. Bye-bye.